My name is Miranda Jenkins, and I'm joined, as always, with Emilio Garcia. And today we're being joined with a special guest. We have Joseph Poschel. So, like always with our guest episodes, to get us started out, Joseph, if you want to just kind of walk us through your background and your career journey of how you became a marketer.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to be with you, Miranda. Great to be with you again, Emilio. Always good to hang out in
Always
person
great.
and virtually. So appreciate all the work that you do in the Greenville area, also, and your thought leadership around Hubspot and just marketing in general. So, yeah, I'm currently located in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm from South Florida, West Palm Beach originally, born and raised. Came up to the upstate and for school, never left, and started my graphic design career, which then morphed into a digital marketing career. So,
Mm.
uh, some really exciting, internships where I worked for on the agency side, then kind of cut my teeth as a digital marketing specialist in B2B, and then was able to move into more data and MarTech focused roles. And now I'm actually the Lifecycle Marketing Manager for a private money lender. So selling mortgages, definitely a blend of B2C and B2B, all while keeping up a freelance practice on the side. So I've worked for nonprofits, global enterprises, and startups, and been able to kind of learn how digital marketing and demand gen works in all those different verticals and all those different spaces. So, all kinds of exciting stuff ahead as well for Lima One. But uh, even as the market kind of cools uh, from a rate perspective and has cooled, but hopefully we'll get some rate cuts here as election season rolls around, and that'll make our investors happy. So.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great, man. So let me ask you this. What was how do you got started in Lima Capital One, and what was the role that you initially got into, and kind of like the things that you were focused at the beginning, and how that role has evolved over time?
Um, so Yeah, Lima One Capital was founded in Greenville, South Carolina by two Marines. And this
Mm.
was one of their first forays in kind of their entrepreneurial journey after retiring honorably from the U.S. Marines. So they were able to build this kind of local success story that grew throughout the Southeast and then broke into the West Coast around 2022 post pandemic when, money was still much cheaper and rates were still at zero. So I came in around this kind of sweet spot in the real estate market and the US housing market in general, which are in March in 2022. I was the first hire by a new CMO, and this is after the company had already been purchased from the original founders and was now in growth mode. So think growth, growth, growth. So this new CMO from the West Coast, she came on and was building out a new team. So at first, it was definitely that startup feel on the marketing team. We were small, we were nimble. Throughout 2022, we launched Hubspot. That was the fourth instance that I've managed so far. And I
You
know,
have some
Emilio, we,
experience
we, we
already.
love HubSpot, so much,
Yes, we do.
powerful features there as well. But so it was very much initially a role of true life cycle marketing. So how do we listen to the customer journey for all the different types of investor personas, and how do we focus on email, sprinkle in a little bit of SMS, but mostly email? Uh, how do we think about onboarding? And then it was a lot of sales enablement. So I was owning the entire MarTech stack. Uh, we're interacting with Salesforce and the sales teams, and really coming to the sales teams with the approach of how can we give you the tools to go hunt and fish? And then how do we help our inside
Mhm.
sales team to kind of nurture the leads that they were getting through our website? So a lot of paid campaigns, a lot of Facebook, a little bit of LinkedIn, but mostly Instagram, Facebook ads that brought in some of our fix and flip investors. So it was really at the time of testing approaches, wearing multiple hats. And then in 2023, we were able to specialize as the marketing team grew. So I was able to lean a lot more into the MarTech side, more into the data side, and able to collaborate more on the content side with some of my newer team members, which was exciting. And so definitely 2023 was like specialization. If 2022 was like just growing pains, 2023 was kind of specialization leading into the MarTech side. And then now still owning the life cycle portion of the customer journeys and thinking through what touch points do we need for every persona. And then really like, I would say 2024 has been so far, I can't believe we're already in Q3, but it's really been the year of scale.
Yeah.
So it would be growth. It would be, then my role was kind of specialization, MarTech, and now it's like scaling. How do we scale? And man, there have been so many interesting insights that we found around engagement. We found webinars, no shock there, even in a post-pandemic world this year, have been very, very effective in nurturing our audience. We had an annual market outlook. What I said was an annual market outlook piece that we do at the beginning of every year. And so for 2024 is no different. We had our CRO come and we had our pre-campaign to the webinar and our post-campaign follow-up. And we had him kind of explain this white paper and this bit of research that we had done. So we kind of had this anchor pillar piece of content, and then we built a webinar around it and built some omni-channel outreach around that webinar. And presenting Lima One Capital as a thought leader, and then following up with those touches afterward and nurturing the guests, like that was the textbook marketing example, I would say, not only of just like smart digital marketing tied with like a content strategy, but also a really powerful example of how our team collaborated together. So it's those kind of like integrated campaigns that we're now as a Lima One Capital marketing team able to push out on a more frequent basis.
Love it. And you mentioned something that, you're unpacking here some questions that I have. First, I'm assuming that, getting into the financial sector, right? I know that Lima One is not necessarily a bank, but it deals with the financial portion of it for sure. It will be quite different from other sectors that probably you have experience with, both from the marketing and from the sales enablement side. But the other one being the type of business that Lima One is, because you are in between of what will be formerly B2B and B2C, but it's a more conscious decision. It's not transactional in nature, even if your investor is just a regular guy or person that is making a specific investment. I think there's still a path to follow. So the question that I have here for you is, how you felt was and is now the balance between your role on enabling the sales team versus dedicating time on building up that journey, as you're saying, those touch points from a marketing perspective. What was the need, and does it continues to be more enabling the sales team in the particular case, or are you dedicating more time in the company as a whole to build out content and thought leadership, and those kind of efforts are more for generating leads inbound rather than going out to the marketplace and trying to reach out to potential buyers?
Yeah. So much in there to unpack. So I would say about a rough estimate of the spread between inbound versus outbound. We really have different sales teams that go after inbound versus outbound. So we do have an inside sales team that sits in HQ in Greenville, and that benefits from tens of thousands of leads each quarter that come in from our website, investors of various levels of experience. So there is self-qualification going on when they come to lima1.com. Most of the time they're price shopping. They want to know,
Yeah.
is Kiavi going to have a better rate? Is Anchor Loans going to have a better rate? Or is Lima One going to have a better rate? So that would be on the acquisition side. So that is, so from marketing team's perspective, we are running different organic and paid campaigns, both SEM and social, to drive inbound traffic through this kind of primary lead generation form, which is, and it's about to expand to several more nuanced forms, which we're really excited about. Some different kind of nuanced vetting with the new website that we're about to launch. We all love new website projects, I'm sure. Never a headache there.
Yeah.
Head off. But yeah.
You don't
So
let it rest
that,
for more than 3 years.
yeah, exactly. We all love our WordPress plugins, but no, it's going to be really powerful to kind of augment the current vetting process that we have on the inbound side. So imagine one sales team that we're just kind of seeding, that we're creating the activity to really drive investors to come to Lima One. So some brand recognition, but also very much, mid to lower funnel CTAs, call to actions, come quote your deal, book a consultation with a sales rep, right? So that's on the inbound side. And then we have the outbound side, and that team is actually nationwide. And then we also have kind of a broker, a more channel, if you will, play, where we help other business owners grow their investor base through either white label or through Lima One branded products. So we're going to help their rental investors with DSCR loans. We're going to give their fix and flippers and ground up construction the upfront capital and the 4-day draws that they need to make sure their project goes well. And not just the investor, but the clients. And we're like the actual brokers to help them grow their clients' book of business. So we have kind of like an outside team. So almost imagine like Keller Williams, like realtors, but they're like Lima One BDRs. And they're in different regions across the US, mostly focused, we mentioned, on the kind of the East Coast, because that's kind of our bread and butter. Specifically Atlanta is where we have a really powerful stronghold. And then we've been able to break into the West Coast from the East Coast. So truly nationwide. Imagine kind of like different areas, different regions, and local areas and different real estate investment markets that are kind of owned by subject matter experts and owned by BDRs that are familiar with that area, that are members of local investment groups and local builder groups. And they're in the community working with investors, helping them grow their businesses and giving them the funding they need, whether they're a newbie or whether they're, need like a rinse and repeat flipping process, right? So the outside team, the way we treat them is our marketing team gives them their own brand. So it's almost like a co-brand with Lima One. So we provide them with actually an area, this kind of self-service area that my colleague on my team was
Kind of
able
like
to
a
build.
franchise, but
Yeah, and so is a really cool internal platform that one of my marketing team colleagues on my team was able to build, and it is a self-service place where the reps can go. They can request LinkedIn graphics. They can showcase just funded deals in their area. They can request collateral. So we really like to make those BDRs on the outside team. It's really our job it's full sales enablement. We also run like email marketing drips on their behalf that are automatically personalized and go to what we call their book of business, their investors. But it's really this spread between the outside team, which is, here are all the tools you need on the digital side and on the physical side, and on the event side, we send them to events and we help wrap those events with event campaigns. So really, how do we enable the outside team to go hunt and fish well and sell our loans into their local area? That's thinking more of that as the sales enablement play, whereas the digital lead gen play definitely feeds our inside team. So it is a kind of left and right split there, kind of two different buckets. And when you're a small team, part of the challenge is how do we recycle some of our content and actually help the outside team with the products they're selling and the method that they're selling, and how do we keep that message appropriate for them, but also recycle some of that content, some of that thought leadership, collateral pieces for the inside team as well. So sometimes it's tweaks, and then sometimes it's completely different content for two different audiences. So
Yeah. I imagine I would like to know your take on that one. What would you say, the struggles, both from a technology and also from a people and processes perspective? What are some of the struggles of how do you keep the inside team, the outbound team, and the marketing layer aligned? As you said, right, on brand, on the efforts, on the transition from all those leads coming from the website that the inside team handles. Do they end up sending some of those to your SDR, BDR, sorry, eventually? And if that happens, how do you keep everyone aligned in terms of the type of buyers that you're reaching out to?
a lot of Teams calls, a lot of relationship building. Really, going back to the point on growth and scale, like just like any kind of you know SMB, I would say small medium sized business that is growing and scaling. In 2022 and 2023, our sales teams were growing like crazy. We were adding entirely new sales channels, including one that's called wholesale, but it's really just larger shops, larger kind of almost white label investment investment products where we take our products and we're helping other shops like a cross country mortgage actually sell to their client base. So I like to think of it as a channel play because I come from the wholesale, the
Hmm.
wholesale hardware market, where I was helping like Cisco and even Microsoft sell their hardware and software via telecom systems into their kind of resellers. So I kind of take that mindset and apply it to this, but really, just Lima One helping sell our products to other businesses. So when you are whenever a new lead comes in and they say, "Hey, I'm ready to quote my deal. I've got a deal in hand," is what we like to say. So I'm ready to found a property I want. I'm shopping for the right financing. Help me. Or I've already done business with Lima One and I have another project. I like the service. I like the white glove experience, and you all were competitive on the leverage and rates. So I want another one. When they come to us, if they have an existing relationship with that outside sales rep, it really, it's really up to us as the marketing team to actually not get in the way to help foster that relationship. So we help with certain
Yeah.
kind of campaigns. We help the BDR say, hey, this person wants to schedule a meeting with you. We will send out these kind of micro blasts and larger email blasts that say, hey, our rates just dropped. Are you ready? And then the investor will see that, they'll book a call, they'll book a meeting, and then from there they'll start the process, or they'll just reply to the email directly. It is kind of more transactional. Well, they will see the rate lowered, and that will remind them Lin one's top of mind, and if they have a deal, we try to create our segments to make sure that we are there at the right moment to ping them, to tap them on the shoulder, say, hey, reach out to your rep. So if the existing relationship's already there, it's really about just getting that quote process started, and really just making sure that Lima One is top of mind. And then from there, it's up to the sales rep to do what they do best, which is to really nurture that deal and be as competitive as we can be, including offering special pricing. So, uh, in some ways, the customer relationship it does remind me of like a SaaS sales cycle in some ways, just much shorter, where it's not months, because that is the world that I'm most familiar with is B2B SaaS and selling that, including at the startup I was at, selling kind of like a BI product. So thinking about, kind of maybe even a 2 month to a 6 months, even in a 12 to 18 month sales cycle where you're working a large enterprise deal or maybe a smaller deal. Our buying window and window of consideration is going to be, sometimes days, sometimes depending on the way we're pricing the deal, it could be up to like, 30 to 45 days. So which we try to lower it, but it's almost a shorter, window where they're being guided through by their BDR, and it's up to us to make sure that our loan products are in front of the investor at the right time.
Yeah. Now, I know that you have experience, maybe not just from Lima One, on integrating and handling, implementation within Hubspot and Salesforce. So I would love to know your take, right? And for our listeners to that might be in situations where they are making those choices, what do you consider the strengths and weaknesses of each of the platforms? Do you think that the two together do a better job than any of the two separately? What is your so far your experience? Maybe not just because
Yeah.
of Lima One, but in general, all the instances that you have handled in the past.
Yeah. I've seen, so the short answer is it depends, right? As with everything.
Mhm.
So all of the stereotypes around enterprise instances of Salesforce, I have found to be true. They are large, they are embedded, they are complex, they're highly customized, and they require a skilled team, usually of consultants that come in, charge you a handsome fee, guide you through an implementation that works for your business as best as they can. There's always scope creep, and but you can get something that is useful for your business, and that it requires some kind of internal team to maintain. So for enterprises, the cost is high, and the cost can be perceived to be worth it. I found several of the of the firms I've been with, both Lima One has Salesforce, and some other firms have had it as well. So I mean, it truly is ubiquitous. It truly is everywhere, and the stereotypes of it being expensive and highly customized, uh, and and sometimes difficult to work with, those are true. So you just need to be able to devote those resources to make sure that you can make that make sense. And most enterprises can, right? And then there's HubSpot, right? So HubSpot for CRM is lower on the cost side. It is definitely, in some cases, can be easier to implement, less customized. Typically, I've seen most instances be, less customized, though you can go very deep on the customization and be equally as complex as a Salesforce instance. So, and there's a healthy ecosystem of consultants on the HubSpot side that are willing to help, excited to help, and have that expertise to kind of customize the workflows for your business, right? So, um, you know, I definitely push back against kind of, these kind of magic pill like responses and recommendations of, what system is going to solve all your needs. The fact is that HubSpot can be spun up faster and cheaper, especially for a smaller company. I've yet to see an enterprise instance of HubSpot, though I know they exist. So definitely SMBs and startups love HubSpot and find them very useful. I've been a part of two different startups, including one that was acquired, that both used HubSpot, and it's very easy to get set up quickly. So speed to impact, speed to setup, and cost for SMPs are going to give HubSpot the edge, and that's obviously been their market play for a long time. It's interesting though. I currently Lima One, we have both. So we don't use HubSpot as CRM. We use it as our marketing engine, and then it bolts into and connects for the bidirectional sync with Salesforce. So it actually feeds our CRM. It mimics the kind of sales flow and sales funnel. So we're able to nurture leads through forms, through all of our marketing activity, all of our email activity is run through there, and data flows back and forth. So managing that flow has been a challenge. It's been a very significant challenge, and so and part of that is finding the right people to help you with that integration to help manage that, and that would be true of any system, right? But so they are competitors, but they can be taught to play nicely with each other, and they can provide real value. It's happening at Lima One, but there is going to be that kind of data governance and segment management piece that you have to be aware of. You have to be very mindful of, and it takes work. It definitely takes scoping work and work to maintain. So, but I would say no different than any kind of data governance challenge. One word I like to throw out to my team, and I was very intentional about doing this when I came to Lima One, from the start, and my team, someone has adopted it, which I appreciate. I think it's been successful, and that's the term, like, just platform agnostic. So you have to be careful with that word. What I mean by that word is, let's actually make sure that we create a life cycle and a digital marketing strategy that aligns with our content strategy and aligns with the needs of the business. That that strategy, and I'm curious your thoughts, Emilio, on this and your perspective too, from being on the agency side and working with so many different kinds of clients. Like, I'd love to hear how self-aware you feel like your clients are and how much you have to guide them through that kind of platform agnostic approach where, yes, I mean, I might be a Hubspot partner, I might be a Salesforce partner, but how do we make sure that we are addressing the data governance issues throughout not just the marketing tech stack, but throughout the business and the data that is the competitive advantage? How do we help educate? I found that to be firms large and small, from startups to enterprises, the same conversations are needed and the same coaching is needed. I found. I'm curious your experience with data gov
Yeah.
and
Well,
how you
that's a
have to coach them
fantastic
through.
question, because to be honest, it's a business questions for agencies. It's a kind of like a business model. So my answer is, and I'm sure there are exceptions, but my answer is that small agencies or solo consultants and some things like that will be always better off if they have a handful of tools that they master, instead of being, as you said, agnostic to the tool. Mostly because when you are very small, you have to differentiate from all the options that the buyers have, right? And also, it's a training cost, right? If you have to train yourself in being good at Pipedrive and Hubspot and Salesforce, and keep adding the list, Toho CRM, everybody will think, if you go to a prospect buyer, a prospect marketer, and you say, "Oh, I know all these tools." Well, how well do you know them? Because when do you have the time to really learn deep on this one? As you said, right, when you are doing something that is a one-time effort, you want someone that has an expert, that has dedicate hours and hours and hours, who really can help you, not someone that knows a little bit about everything. So I think that for agencies, the reason I recommend that agency owners of small companies focus on a specific tool is so they can offer that expertise to their clients, right? Yes, you are paying the price of having this big bias toward your tool. That's true. But the expectation is that the people will come into you will be because you are an expert about it, rather than because they want to be convinced of using HubSpot or Salesforce or whatever. I do, however, think that doesn't apply to larger agencies that are like full type kind of service. Yeah, I think they have to be agnostic, right? Your agency of record or your more traditional, if they still exist, right? Full service agency that can help you with your traditional marketing and off world digital one. I think they have to have experts from everywhere. Typically, what they will do is they will bring in experts depending on what the client needs, and they should focus more on picking up those processes. Now,
In-house too,
that
right?
doesn't
It's
mean
it's definitely different if you're in-house versus agency for sure. Yeah.
yes. Now, that doesn't mean that as an agency you don't recognize the fact that not whatever tool you're expert at doesn't apply to every case. So I'm very conscious about that all the time. I try to, for example, with clients, just as you said, I think the limits of HubSpot are enterprise. Probably there you have better solutions on Salesforce. The other one is when you shift into more transactional B2C implementations, probably not the best, right? They are probably Shopify as a whole system. It's a better CRM, if you want to call it that way, for more B2C commerce. So what I think is important, as you said, though, is that even if you're an expert with a tool or a specific tactic on digital marketing, that you know your limitations, that you recognize that it's just part of a whole, instead of telling the client this is the hammer that we will use for everything that happens. So I agree with you. So it's a weird balance for sure.
For also like a song and dance of, like Amelia was saying, being a expert in a platform, but then also not solely tying your what you can provide
Yes.
to customers in one platform, because we all know it could change
Yes.
next year, and like the industry standard can become a new platform that you have to divert to.
Yeah. Yeah, so
And
it's a
what is
delicate
the
balance.
business
A great
model?
question.
And like, what is the business model of the agency, right? So yeah, obviously, if you're a Salesforce partner, you're dedicated to the Salesforce ecosystem, and that is your expertise, and that's what you'll lead with. So yeah, I'd love to like hear your thoughts, Emilio, on like the way you question like the full service agency doesn't exist. I'd love your hot take on that. Do you think that full service agencies are still a thing, or has everyone broken up into
Mm.
specialties on the agency side?
I said that with a little bit of sarcasm because obviously they exist. Well, what I mean by that is that another big challenge for every marketer that is thinking to jump ship and do something on their own is that it will be an error to try to emulate the big ones. Right. The big ones are there because they are large. The big ones can get away with not being super focused and tackling every industry and tackling every tool because they are large, right? They have a ton of people. Then you can have employees that are specialized in so many things. If you're getting started, it will be a mistake because then what is that you bring, the edge that you bring to the marketplace? And also again from a training perspective. So I'm not saying that they don't exist anymore necessarily, right? But I do mean that most of us shouldn't try to be a full size or a full service agency. Um, my take on this one, Joseph, is that ideally, and this is what we try to do for ourselves, you want to have a horizontal layer and a vertical layer on your definition, right? So, for example, for us, the horizontal one is demand generation is an enhanced version of pay media, right? So, pay media with a focus on learning what's going on with your CRM. So that's um, from all the things that you can do, SEO, content creation, social media, and the things that you can do in the real world, that we pick that horizontal expertise. And then the vertical is, well, but it's just for B2B, ideally it's tech-enabled companies. So we are taking away a ton of industries and we want to specialize in that. So I think as long as agencies can pick those two things, ideally, and yes, if you throw in a platform of choice, like in our case, Hubspot, that's even better because again, I will think it in terms of how the buyer will see you, right? Are you an expert in my industry or know it enough that I can feel comfortable working with you, even when I will know that you will never be as good as the in-house team, right? The in-house team spend day and night on that client or on that company compared to the agency, but at least that a struggle. So I think that's a good combination. And finally, going back to your question, even if it wasn't Salesforce, any other CRM or marketing automation tool, I think the threshold always is if you want to accomplish something and you don't have anything, go with the tool that has all the features to begin with, right? Because then we get hung up on the technology part, right? Like, well, what is the best tool to make a blog? Well, really what matters is that you produce the blog, right? That you host it on WordPress or you host it on HubSpot or you host it on Wix is irrelevant as long as you keep doing the process. That's what matters. So if you don't have anything, I think it's better to go with a tool that has all the features all together because it gives you the starting point. Only if you have very specific needs, then it makes sense to say, well, I want the best of the category because all these other features that I need that are making my work harder are missing in this, overall tool that I have. So that's the other point of when I stay away from recommending what we are biased to, which is HubSpot, right? Is when you are getting into a situation where you need landing pages that are, at scale. They need hundreds of them and run very complicated A/B tests and all that. Yeah, and do tool for amounts or something like that. But if you're just going to do a handful of them, use the landing page from HubSpot. You already have it, or whatever tool you already have. You don't have to migrate to our choice if the implementation is quite simple.
And not, yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a good reminder to like make sure that we don't let the tools get in the way of the actual marketing behaviors. And if it
Yeah.
is, we should be focusing
Yeah.
on those marketing behaviors because that's obviously what's going to drive the impact that we're looking for. So Yeah, and I mean, and obviously it's
Yeah.
going to affect your business model as an agency, or for me right now in house, um, or even freelance. Like I have my skill set, so I definitely lean into the HubSpot side. So I'm going to be able to help people more with HubSpot, right? And it's also
Yeah.
I can bring on new clients without having to do the scoping, the vast amount of scoping and technical resource. Like I don't have to provide resources that I would to implement a large Salesforce instance. That would be a different kind of client that I'd be attracting for my finance practice, right? So yeah,
Yes.
even like
Well,
the whole concept of like sitting in house and then thinking of yourself as an agency. I know I've had different colleagues kind of share that with me throughout the years, and it's an interesting thought experiment. Like, are we an agency sitting inside of a larger entity? I think that helps keep a scrappy mentality sometimes, but
yes, I love that idea that some departments see themselves as they are, like their own thing and providing services to the client. I think that's smart because, as you said, it keeps you on the edge, keeps you scrappy. It's a way of, seeing that you have internal clients, right? Which typically is a combination of your sales and customer success departments for marketing, right? And some other internal teams when the organization is larger. So love it, Joseph. So I want to tell you that I really um, impressed because this is one of those interviews where you ask some questions as well. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. And I just want to finish with some quick questions for you, right? Whatever comes to your mind. So
oh
let's go
boy,
into that
here we
one.
go.
Is there a Here we go. Is there a
Yeah.
HubSpot or Salesforce hack or feature that you think is being underutilized?
So HubDB, I will sing the praises of HubDB all day and every day. So our team is currently using
Great.
it to power dynamic landing pages that are created on the fly for our sales reps. And we're also, one of my colleagues is integrating it with the help from our BI team. We're actually integrating it to our Microsoft SharePoint and Microsoft 365. So we're able to take all the information from HR and the profiles of our sales reps and dynamically create, like to use the word like Keller Williams style, like, kind of landing pages that are serve as kind of like that digital business card for the sales rep, and then also lead gen. So HubDB, you can do so much. Uh, when I was at Inbound last year, I don't think they had any sessions on it, and it is a little bit leaning more to the dev side. But even if you are not a coder at all, you can use it to create dynamic pages. You can use Excel, you can use HubDB. So definitely do the Googles and check that out. It's super powerful.
Interesting. Yeah, and it has been around for a while. But yeah, I
Yes,
haven't seen
yes.
a ton of implementations of it. So yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Every day you learn something new. Demand generation or B2B marketing tool that you can't live without, excluding HubSpot and Salesforce.
Some days you feel like you should, live without certain CRMs, but yeah, sometimes it's just too
Yeah.
hairy. Oh man. I mean, I love, I actually do love mm, Google Sheets, and I do
Mhm.
love Microsoft Excel Online through 365. It's actually very powerful. I know we're all spreadsheet heroes, especially if you run your own
Yes.
business. You absolutely have to. But collaborating with your teammates in the cloud on a spreadsheet, if those
Mhm.
servers went down for Microsoft, please Cloudflare, don't let that happen again. Then yeah, I mean we would be royally screwed if
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Excel or spreadsheets in general are not going anywhere. They're always the backup for everything that you cannot solve with a SaaS tool.
too
Um,
much sometimes.
what do
But
you think is Yes? What are your thoughts on demand generation, B2B marketing futures in general, especially with AI? How do you see the industry evolving over the next few years?
I mean, I think the most honest answer is that we all have hot takes, and we will all be shocked by how it actually unfolds. As with any large technology shift, I know that generative AI, we are using it at Lima One in, probably less than 10% of our work. So I think that generative
Amazing.
AI will continue to play a role, especially as SaaS programs, content creation programs like Adobe, like Canva has done a really good job integrating it into, kind of the fun playing with Dolly images, and now it's, it's part of like Canva and you can create that. So I think generative AI will obviously play a role. I don't think that we will see. I think some of the job replacement scares is a lot of hype. I don't think, I think many more new jobs will be created over the next 5 years and this coming from industry experts that I listen to and I trust. They think that more people will be able to, use AI to scale teams, and that it won't, certain sectors will be replaced certainly, but it's like the internet, we will see a more boom in growth of teams, more $1 billion one person companies is what I'm hearing predicted. So I'm excited to see that in the years ahead.
I completely agree with that one. The analogy that I use is how certain tools, what they do is that they untap so much latent demand that some jobs disappear or dwindle, but so many more are created. And the example that I use
So
is
many
the
more.
printing press, right? So the printing press is a good example. Books were expensive to make. A handful of people had to, write them down, copy by hand. So yes, when the printing press came, you lost that craft, right? The person that will be writing I don't
So true.
remember the name in English, scribe or something like
Yeah.
that. Um, yes, but it happens that there were the analogy that I use here is that it wasn't just the fact that now a ton of people that maybe wanted a book in the past were able to afford, but the main change is that now you can write about so many other things that there were not books about because it was very cost prohibitive, right? You can go into silly things, if you want to call it that way, or non-economical things like comics, to put an example, right? So there is so much things that get created, and obviously all the work or the job titles that got created, like the editors and the people that you have along the way beyond the author, that and the amount of books that we have even today, even in this digital world, I don't think we have ever had as many books as we have at this moment, right? And continue to be printed. I think that will happen with AI as well, right? Is that we can foresee not just the jobs that will get created, but the ways that it will be used, the new markets that will be developed, because it will lower the barrier of cost for a ton of things. As you said, $1 billion
Mhm.
one person company. I love that. All right, and the last one, Joseph, is what advice would you give to a younger self, to a younger Joseph starting out in this marketing journey?
Boy, I would, I would just say keep going. I would say, uh, you know, continue to develop grit. The more grit you have, the farther you'll be able to go. But just, stay curious and stay open minded, and also grow your network sooner. Like reach out and really develop your network sooner. And definitely that's something I would tap my old self on the shoulder to say, hey, do that faster and scale that. But yeah, that's stay hungry, stay humble, and keep getting after it.
Love that one. Yeah, I agree. Develop your network. Awesome, man. It's been fantastic. I don't know, Miranda, you have any, finishing comments?
Yeah, I don't think so. This has been great.
Oh,
Thanks for sharing everything, Joseph.
It's great,
yeah.
it's
So
great to chat with you, Emilio. Appreciate it.
yes, always great. I think
Sure.
this could be the one of many conversations that we might have to unpack other things. And you might be part of, one Hubspot user group episode, or we might go do another one in person. We haven't done that in a little while. So Joseph, thank you so much for joining in, and for our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And yeah, until the next episode, thanks so much.
See you guys.